We continue with our discussion on data representation using various tools in Excel in this particular video. And what we're going to use or look at in this particular video is how we can extensively use conditional formatting and features of that to kind of represent data in a very lucid and nice pictorial representation format, colorful representation format in the same tabular format. So let's understand the problem statements. We're going to take a few examples and look at various methods of using conditional formatting for this entire data set. So what we have here is a set of data given about a particular company in various geographies. Let's say talks about gross profits of this company in the fourth quarter of 2013 in these geographies, and then talks about the same data in quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4 for these geographies as we look at data. The status is the number of the profit in that particular quarter. The trend is whether it increased or decreased as compared to the previous quarter, right? Now let's say we want to identify which of the particular quarters did it really do well and which of the particular quarters it did not do well. So let's say we are saying if the gross profit is greater than $50 million, it is good. If gross profit is less than $20 million, it is bad. In between is average, right? And then we say whether it went up, went down, or stayed sideways. That's what we want to represent. Now, logically, we can see it and say that, in some of these data went up dramatically, some of these it did not go up dramatically or stayed kind of constant. Some of them fell. So we need to kind of find out which ones did the best and which ones didn't do the best. Let's try and understand that. So basically, it is well represented by something called as icon sets that we're going to use. So select this data, click on conditional formatting, go towards icon sets, and let's say we want to showcase positive, negative in terms of flags, right? So let's click that. So this flags come here. It shows this error because it kind of shows both of these data points. Now we can go to manage rules and edit the rule. So the first thing is that maybe we don't need to show the numbers. We can only show the icons because the numbers are anyway available on the left hand side row, Q1, correct? We can only show the icons. Second, let's look at number points and say that show green when the number is greater than, let's say, 50 and greater than or equal to 20 in terms of number is when we will show yellow, and other than that we'll show it red, right? So let's do that. Let's apply, and you find that the flags are kind of displayed now in the status bar, which means when the profit was slightly above 20 but less than 50, you see yellow flags, which is okay, average, not bad. When you see it greater than 50, you see green flags. Similarly, let's look at trend. Click conditional formatting, go to icon sets, and look at these directional data points. If I look at this directional data points, let's select this. Once again, double click, conditional formatting, manage rules, because I want to show only the data sets, show icon only. And let's say it's up when I'm saying it's a number and any value greater than, let's say, 5 is up, and then number from 0 to 5 is kind of flat, and anything less than 5 is when I consider it to be negative, right? So let's do an OK, apply, and we find that these are kind of flattish, whereas some of them are kind of going up. The ones which have done well are also the ones which have gone up. Now I can either repeat this, or remember we had discussed something about this term called Format Painter. I can select this set, click on Format Painter and select them. Again click on Format Painter, select it in status and trend here, and again click on Format Painter and select status and trend here. Now you note The number increased from 32 to 33, so we saw yellow on both of these. Went up to 81, so we saw above 50 and a huge increase. Above 50 is green, but there is a decline. Above 50 is a green status, but there is a decline. Now this table showcases data sets in terms of, we can immediately look and see that Q3 was the worst quarter, and probably Q2 was one of the best quarters that we see, because there's a lot of green on the display in this. So that's the first example of data representation where icon sets within the framework of conditional formatting could be used, and that could become really interesting to showcase data for us, right? Let's try some more. So let's go to another kind of a scenario where we say we are trying to, let's say, rate a few kind of products of a particular company. Let's say this is a cycle manufacturer, makes mountain bikes, comfort riders, hybrid bikes, road bikes, unicycle kind of bikes. And then there are different kind of parameters which are available with the firm, right? Now, 5 is good, 1 is not so good, and then there is the overall score which is available, right? I can actually select all this and once again go to data formatting, look at icon sets. Now, there are various icon sets that could be used, but typically here ratings icon sets, which you see here on the bottom of the screen, are pretty good and useful. Click on this, for example, and it showcases what those icon sets would look like effectively, right? You can select it, go back to conditional formatting, manage rules, click on icon set, edit rule, and show icon only, and click apply, and you find what is going to be your specific data points around just the data representation in the form of icon sets. You see shifting is a 5, breaks are a 1, and automatically you get the overall score, once again pictorially representing it to be slightly better than just what a table shows us. Let's move ahead to another set of data points where we are saying that we're going to look at, let's say, the profits and trend of profits. So what are these trends? The trends are here. Let's try the same thing. I want positive numbers, negative numbers, and so on and so forth. So go to conditional formatting. We look at icon sets once again. And now let's say we want to use some sort of shapes here, right? Or we want to use some sort of bars here. We can use any of these as such. Let's try and use the shapes bit here, or we can use the directional data points once again to see what's happening with the data set. Let's click on this. Let's go to conditional formatting, manage rules, icon set, edit rules. Again, show icon only. And let's say when we are looking at number and we are looking at number, anything above a growth of 2000, and then let's say 0, and then let's say negative is what we're looking at. Click OK, apply, OK, and we find profits increased, fell, kind of stagnant, increased, fell, kind of stagnant. Between 0 and 2000 is where we are considering it to be stagnant, and that's what these data points kind of start showing us about. So that's basically what we have seen in terms of data representation 3, right? Let's try other things. Data representation 4. Now we want to showcase that a certain number is above a certain level or below a certain level. That's what we are trying to see. And let's say here we want to say that any sales above, let's say this number here, which is 9 crore, is going to be good. We're going to showcase it with a certain cell. I can go back to conditional formatting, select icon sets, look at shapes. Let's say I select all of these, and I say conditional formatting, icon sets, select the shapes. Once again, to ensure that I can set my ranges, I go back, manage rules, click edit, and then let's say show icon only, or let's in fact in this case don't show icon only, show the number and say any number greater than this number is green, any number between, let's say, this and this is, let me write it again, 1 crore and 9 crore is this, and let's click apply, OK, and close. And we realize there's only one green quarter, there are a few yellow quarters, yellow regions, and then there are some of the other ones which are the red regions that we see, right? That's the fourth kind of data point. And then finally we look at, let's say we have been given a data set of mountain peaks in major locations with their heights which are given to us, right? So that's the data that we have been given. Now we have the height, we have the default value. What we can do is I can select this default value and interestingly use what is called as data bars. I can use these data bars and put what is called as a gradient fill, right? So when we do this, let's say we do this gradient fill or we do a solid fill here, we get a sense of which is the tallest peak and which is the smallest one and where does it come in, right? I can similarly select this one, say I want to kind of do data bars, and I click on data bars. I do manage rules, click here, edit rule, and show bar only, right? So that kind of gives me the bar only number. And if I kind of want to create, in a sense, I can actually create a chart here, right? So I select this set, I do a format painter, and I select and paste that here. If I can increase the size, I can manage rules, go back to data bar, edit rule. Let's say I want to use, you know, some sort of a different kind of data bars. I can fill in the border, I can fill in solid fill, I can put in gradient fill, I can change the color here, and I can click OK, apply, OK, and we get a gradient fill, which basically tells us which is the tallest peak. Between this set, it could actually represent like a chart, right? And I can then put in borders to this so that it starts appearing even more presentable. I can use this table, for example, in a particular report. So the idea of using data representation in all these formats is that it can give you data which is much more easy to understand for someone who's viewing this in, let's say, a report, or someone who's trying to then use this data at a later point in terms of analysis. This gives us a power. There are other features as well in conditional formatting, but at this point of time, this set of data which kind of we've used a few functionalities in data representation using conditional formatting. This is good enough for us for now. We'll learn more as we kind of keep going along. So that's where this particular section of data representation ends. There are a few more things in data representation which follow in subsequent videos.